You're gonna see some really, really stupid woke people making themselves look like absolute fools. Buckle up, folks, this one's gonna be funny. This is a classic example of one where everyone in the room was thinking it, but only one person had the guts to say it.
That's greed, and that's just greed.
Okay. Well, I think you're a perfect example of greed, Sweet Pea, because you weigh 25 stone.
You can tell right away how this one is gonna go, and her trying to interrupt her way through this.
So if you had a daughter and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which?
You don't know.
Exactly, because it's all human rights,
but
and it's all human beings.
The
point is how you were conceived is irrelevant. What human rights you get.
But
hold on one second. If a person conceived walks down the side of the street, it's not like they don't get First Amendment rights or Second Amendment rights. That the daughter is to then say, hey, we're going to go the being inside of you.
They wouldn't even know.
They wouldn't know?
Listen.
But wouldn't it be a better story to say something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil instead of saying we're going to do evil and then being because we're going to pander to the evil? No. What makes the West great is that we do good after evil, not evil after evil.
It's not about the being in the cells. It's not about. I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Sometimes when you're confronted with laughable BS, you have to just stoop down to their level and meet them head on.
I've got to be honest, that's one of the most disgusting things I think I've ever had to watch. It's also one of the most disingenuous. It's a yogurt, for goodness sake. Why are you making ads like that about a yogurt?
I'm sorry, I don't believe that that's the most disgusting thing in your editorial career that you've
Pretty much one of them, I've got to be honest.
I'm sorry, it's a pantomime style. It's obviously a parody. It's obviously fake blood. Over 3 million people saw it.
But what's your point?
The point is we went into and investigated dairy farming and blew apart the notion that these animals are in idyll. One in 5 of the animals, and supplying people like that, were zero graze. This means they never saw a blade of grass. And I went in myself to check this out, and they were in filthy conditions. The male calves taken away and shot or knifed in the throat because they don't produce milk. The mothers, when their milk production went down, killed. So there's a lot of death in the dairy.
Let me ask you this. What do you think happens in the wild? How do you think animals eat?
What species are you talking about?
Well, you're very concerned about the protection of animals, but if you go to the African bush, animals eat each other all day long in the most savage, primeval way. Why aren't you campaigning about that?
Yeah,
why don't you go and protect animals from other animals?
Yeah, listen, my degree is zoology. I know quite a lot about animals, and
so
they are not. And they are
on my TikTok feed, all I see all day are lions destroying gazelles'
Come
heads.
on, they're not. Which is a bit more gory than that. They're not.
It's real life.
Farmed. They're not factory farmed. These animals never see sunlight. They never graze a blade of grass. It's obscene. I don't think even you would agree with that.
Well, my problem with vegans is this. I mean, I bet you probably like almonds, do you?
Oh no, you're not going to do the almond avocado with me. No, this is boring. This is boring.
It may be boring.
No.
I actually find the vegan assault on meat eaters boring. So, do you eat avocados and almonds?
I'm not assaulting.
Do you eat them?
Anybody?
Do you eat them?
I eat them from Spain.
So you do. You eat avocados and almonds.
Because the issues that you talk
about. And you drink.
About the
what kind of milk do you drink?
You're talking about the murder.
What kind of milk do you drink?
You talk about the murder. Soya.
Soya. Okay.
Yeah. So you talk about the murder of bees in other interviews.
Yes, because vegans
don't
care.
But you don't care about the billions of calves and chicks and piglets.
I understand.
So you're a complete hypocrite.
No, I'm not.
You are, Piers.
No, the hypocrites are the vegans who munch away on almonds and their avocados and stuff. They don't give a damn about billions of bees getting annihilated. Because the bees are the little guys. And I had this conversation each time because that's the hypocrisy. I don't care.
You're obsessed with this because you think it catches people out.
I am a proud and happy meat and yogurt eater.
We're in the
when you try and make out this yogurt is the most evil thing that anyone can do in the world, I think you're bonkers, Juliet.
We're in the 6th mass extinction. We're living it now. You're behaving like a news anchor on Don't Look Up.
I'm in the what?
You're behaving like a news anchor on the film Don't Look Up. We're in the 6th mass extinction. You're deflecting all the time from the real
world is not going to end because
I trying to deflect
because I eat a Muller yogurt. Look,
animals are factory farmed. You're trying to deflect from the fact
the world's still here.
that veganism protects the environment.
Juliet, we're still here.
We are, but how
Nobody's
much longer
extinct.
have we got? You've got kids. You must care about the climate crisis.
I let my kids eat meat. I let them eat yogurt. And you know what? I don't think it's evil.
We're sure you all know someone who needs to hear this logic spelled out for them.
Okay, I said a boy who thinks he's a girl. That's the usual phraseology I use. Not playing. I usually say a boy who thinks he's a girl or a girl who thinks he's a boy, which is technically what we're talking about here. As far as the actual psychological issues at play, it used to be called gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. Now they call it gender dysphoria. The idea that sex or gender are malleable is not true. Okay, and I'm not denying your humanity if you're a transgender person. I am saying that you are not the sex to which you claim to be. You're still a human being, and you're a human being with an issue that I wish you Godspeed in dealing with in whatever way you see fit. But if you are going to dictate to me that I'm supposed to pretend that men are women and women are men, no. My answer is no. I'm not going to modify basic biology because it threatens your subjective sense of what you are.
Ben's not even trying to be patronizing here, but the sheer simplicity of what he's spelling out for her makes it hard.
Okay, but you're still saying these kids should not be accepted because they don't really fit in either place? They can't just
I'm saying that the Boy Scouts have a standard. You must be a biological boy to be a Boy Scout. You have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout.
Where's that written though? Okay.
In the name Boy Scouts. Because this is a very because for all of human history, boy meant boy and girl meant girl. Boy did not mean girl. And if I call you a moose, are you suddenly a moose? Okay, if I redefine our terms. No, yes, that's right. Men and women are a completely different thing. This is true. Have you ever met a man or a woman? They're completely different.
And if you're waiting for the knockout blow, here it comes.
Okay, why is that? I don't understand. Why? Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, I won't ask you how old. I will ask you how old you are. Okay, because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So.
I'm 22, so I'm probably young and naive, right?
No. Why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60? And why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
It's not the same as gender. You can't just...
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender. You can't magically change your gender. You can't magically change your sex. You can't magically change your age.
This next dude isn't even hearing the words that are coming out of his own mouth.
Describe a hateful thing.
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
Simple questions often require simple answers, but not everyone wants to hear them, that's for sure.
Organized kind of idea that it's okay to catcall at women and that sort of thing. What is the solution in your opinion?
What is the solution to catcalling? Certainly not walking around in my underwear.
This woman is truly lost, and she's not even trying to hide it, which kind of makes it sadder, right?
You said, what's wrong with dating married men?
Oh, girl. I just don't see a problem with it. Like, if the man wants to do it and you do too.
Wait, hold on. Just to be clear. So, nothing wrong with dating a married man, but you curb stomped a woman and destroyed a $300,000 car because of cheating?
Yes.
But also, nothing wrong with facilitating the cheating of a married man.
I'm a hypocrite.
Okay, I mean, she admits it.
I'm not going to sit here and lie, but being a hypocrite is very...
Have you ever dated a married man?
No, but I would.
So you don't see anything wrong with it?
It's not just hypocrisy, though, right? That's an actual contradiction of worldview.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you're not even playing. Like, what is your worldview? Like, what is bad even?
I have no clue. I'm still trying to figure that out too. Okay. I'm young. I don't know.
Yet another example of how to meet ridiculous logic head on and completely disprove it in the process.
Actually, haven't ever been raped.
I actually identify as an attack helicopter, so it's really offensive.
You sound like you're speaking from a very privileged point of view here.
Very privileged.
Yes.
I would like you to use my pronouns if you could. They're I, me, and my.
So now you're mocking the LGBTQ community now.
I have lots of LGBTQ friends, and they don't get professionally offended at everything.
Just because you have LGBTQ friends doesn't mean that you're not homophobic or biphobic or transphobic. That's like me saying, oh, I have black friends, so I'm not racist.
My LGBTQ friends are usually male and female and not some unicorn gender that's been made up.
That's so hateful. You're just like erasing. Yeah.
Gender is a social construct, right? And I don't have boobs. That's just a social construct. Oh, and penises don't exist, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's male and there's female. There are two biological genders. Science exists. I'm sorry to tell you all that science exists, but it does.
The level of contradiction on display here is honestly kind of shocking.
Should women hit men?
No.
Right. So if a woman should hit a man, shouldn't he smack her back?
No.
Why not?
Because she's a girl.
Well, she doesn't know that?
But I just think that's unfair.
So if a woman smack a man, what should he do?
He probably deserved it, to be honest.
What? Does she deserve to be smacked back if she could hit him?
She's a girl. Guys should not hit girls.
But girls should hit guys?
I never said that, no.
But if they do, the guy shouldn't smack her back?
No.
Why not?
Because guys shouldn't hit girls.
Why?
Because it's just, that's just unfair.
Well, how?
Because girls are tender and beautiful creatures that should not be hit.
But don't they know that before they hit the man?
I don't think the guy should ever hit the girl.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even to protect himself against it?
No. What is he protecting?
He's a human being just as she is. Have you ever smacked a guy?
Have I?
Oh, yeah.
The lack of patience Candace displays here is actually totally understandable. What a dumb question.
Hello.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who actively feel victimized by your presence here today?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question.
But just when you thought things couldn't get any dumber.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay, next question. Great statement. That's a statement. That's a statement. Okay, you know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart. Thank you very much for your statement.
The fact that they can't even reach a common point of agreement in this debate is genuinely concerning. This is bordering on petty.
I don't want trans people banned from sports. I want them to be disallowed from competing against biological women. Different thing. I want them to be able to compete in
with
sport.
people of their own gender.
Or their own sex. They should compete with people of their own sex.
That is exactly the type of talking point that in 20 years we're going to be looking back at and regretting.
Really? So you think in 20 years' time in the Olympics? So to be clear, then, in the Olympics, you would have just what? Open Olympics?
Open season.
Sex is irrelevant. Gender irrelevant. Everyone just competes against each
absolutely.
other.
I would too.
Really? So do you understand?
Well, everyone just can.
Eli, do you understand that by doing that, you literally end the Olympics? It's all over because only men would win. Do you understand that?
Well, that's a very grandiose vision of it, but
not really. Not really. If you look at the times,
easily...
if you look at the times and the results of men Olympians against women Olympians, you will see that in almost, I think, 98% of all the events, men are so far ahead of women on speed, on power, and everything, every other discipline. Women would never
separated by categorization.
Women would never win a medal again at the Olympics if you had your way. Is that what you want?
That's very sexist.
No, it's a,
you know that the
it's a
first
physical. Hang
woman
on,
to-
it's not sexist.
Do you know the first woman that
hang on, James. I'll
swam the
come to you.
channel?
I'll come to you. It is not sexist. It is a fact. It's why we separate the sexes. When Megan Rapinoe finished her career playing the soccer team, American women's soccer team, she then said that she'd be happy to see a trans woman competing in the women's team, right? Which is fine because it wouldn't take her place. But if you allowed trans women, football players, soccer players, to compete, and enough of them began to do this, there would be no biological women left in the women's national soccer team because they would be physically
trans
superior.
people already have the right to do that, and you're not seeing the results that you say you would be seeing.
Yeah, but you see, you and James both have this wonderfully quaint notion that if you open up the Olympics for everyone, that women would continue to win medals. They wouldn't. They'd win nothing.
Obviously, this is complicated, Piers.
It's not complicated.
No, listen,
it's not complicated. It's why we separate them. Literally, when Megan Rapinoe's national women's soccer team played the Dallas under-15s, they lost 8-2. They were under 15-year-old boys.
The lack of research and knowledge on display here is truly astounding, and you can see her confidence crumbling before your very eyes.
How would you explain to them why you should have an assault rifle?
What is an assault rifle?
Big gun that you shouldn't have.
What is the definition of an assault rifle? If you're going to tell me I don't need something, you better have the definition.
Well, is that how it works?
What is an assault rifle?
It's a... I'm being honest. I don't know what the exact dictionary definition.
Let's talk about what.
No,
Yourself,
don't put it on your fucking YouTube channel.
We will check it out at Liberty Hangout.
Girl goes crazy at stupid conservative girl.
That's a good title.
Charlie doesn't even break a sweat as he dominates this conversation with this very entitled college student.
You're in college, or have been, is that correct?
Yeah.
Are you forced to take classes that you think are a waste of time?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
you know what?
hold on. So they're taking your money, and they're forcing you that they're a waste of time. That's kind of scammy, right?
I think that some classes.
Ooh, some. So you have to probably go in debt, right?
I picked a school that actually offered me a scholarship.
Oh, so someone else is paying for your college. Therefore, I go back to my core contention, which is a majority of kids that exit college will not use their degree at all when they go to find a job.
But if you ask them, do you think college was a scam? I don't think majority of them are going to say yes.
Not everyone who's being scammed actively knows they're being scammed.
But
People
it's
still
not...
buy erectile dysfunction drugs off the internet, and they get scammed.
Okay, that's their own
People
like, personal choice, though.
Of course people have choices to be scammed. I'm not saying they don't have a choice. I'm making an observation analysis of the institution. What are you studying?
Psychology and criminal justice.
So, and it's being paid for by somebody else, which is fine. That's good. So psychology and criminal justice. Do you absolutely need to get a degree to be able to get into the psychology? You do?
Yeah.
So you know there's 11 million jobs open in the country right now that don't require a college degree.
These people are simply allergic to logic and common sense, which makes them easy prey for anyone with a brain.
I just want to read you this poster that I have because I hear a lot of pro-lifers say that life begins at conception. So my poster reads, "Life begins when you understand living women matter more than potential babies."
What is it?
What do you mean?
If it's a potential baby, what is inside of a woman?
It's a fetus.
Is it living?
No.
How can it grow if it's not living?
Actually, that's like saying if an acorn is a tree.
When does the fetus become living?
That's actually a good question, but that line...
Yeah, of course, because you don't know it, because it's living. It's living.
How about you let her speak?
You're fundamentally denying science to validate your opinion.
You actively deny science, ma'am.
How am I denying? What science did I deny, Darby?
Okay, so let's look at some posters over here.
But
you don't have to be here.
I need you to tell me what science. You just made an accusation that I denied science. What science did I deny?
That it's a child inside of you. It is a clump of cells when
I'm a clump of cells. What makes me different?
That you were born. You were born.
So you don't. What you're arguing is that anything that is not born is not valuable of life.
I did not say that.
It's subjective. So when does a child or fetus or clump of cells, whatever you want to call it, when does this clump of cells or fetus become living?
When it can sustain its own life.
But when is that? When is the sustainability? No, when is sustainability?
21. About like 30 weeks to born, like 24, 30.
Because like how do you sustain life? Like my newborns aren't sustainable. You can't just have a newborn and they just like live on their own, right?
Right.
They're not sustainable. They need help and assistance to survive. So is a newborn not worthy of life? Is a newborn not worthy of life?
I do have one thing to say to you. How is it that when my mom was in college 30 years ago, she was protesting the exact same thing that me and these wonderful other women and men on this side had been protesting? How is it? Why? Why are we still protesting? Why are we still having to talk about this issue? It is a basic human right to have an abortion, to have a choice.
The reason we're still having the question is because some people don't want to accept the natural consequences of heterosexual sex and be inconvenienced by another human life and want to selfishly choose to end human life in order to have their whims met.
The fact that this person can say all of this with a straight face is a major red flag.
Hi, Matt. I'm transgender. I'm born and raised here in New Mexico. I have a graduate degree in information technology, marketing, business, and finance. I own my own home. I pay taxes. I have a 6-figure job. I'm a respected professional in Albuquerque. I'm a mother. My life experience is that I'm an awesome person. I am well-liked. I'm responsible, and I think I'm pretty cool. You touched on something. You said something earlier that for you, when somebody calls you a man, it doesn't faze you because, like, you just know that you're a man. That was interesting to me because I feel the same way about my identity as a woman. My question leading up to this, you've asserted that no one would ever see me as a woman, that nobody would ever see or could see a transgender person as a woman, and yet I have dozens of friends from diverse backgrounds, women from the reservation, a woman from Japan, several immigrant women. I have my coworkers, I have my boss, my VP, my CEO, all respecting me as a woman, my family, my long-term friends who are actually here with me. All of these people assure me, like, I'm a woman. They'll tell me, girl, like, there is no way you are a man. They see me as a woman. So the question, how can you assert that nobody would ever see me as a woman when my material experience tells me you're wrong?
Okay. It's interesting that that's the part of my talk you chose to ask a question about, because that's not in my talk at all. I don't believe I said that no one would ever see you as a woman. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that you could fool someone. Now, you brought this up, so I have to tell you that you brought this up. You've put your identity on the table for conversation. And so I'm going to say you wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%. And I think that most people would. Now, the fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, oh, you're totally a woman, it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, you're totally a man, Matt. You know, if a friend of mine called me on the phone and said, listen, Matt, I want you to know you're really a man, I would think that there was something wrong with him. I would say, why are you saying that at all? It doesn't make any sense. So the fact that this is a conversation to begin with tells me, it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is up for, it's something that you need to be assured of. Now, what I would like to ask you, again, because you're standing here, and so you've brought your identity on the table for discussion, so.
This next one is what happens when a mature and well-reasoned adult debates someone who is totally clueless about the world.
Do you want to end all plastic manufacturing?
I said the plastics industry must be stopped.
So does that mean end plastic manufacturing?
I mean, in my dream world, sure, but I think that, go ahead.
No, so I don't mean to be condescending here. I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses? Like,
so
why
I
would you
do
wear your
know
glasses around your face? They're made of plastic.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out of.
They are. What about, and I'm just pointing out some things here because I just want to be realistic when we're having conversations, because when statements are made like this, I just want to open people's eyes and say, well, okay, that's easy to say, but what's the solution? Your water bottle in front of you.
This one?
Yes. That plastic?
No.
The lid is. That's plastic.
Right. So
Right.
I would say to your
cell phone-
question that I would first be concerned about single-use plastics, and then we can talk about alternatives to this.
Your cell phone there. Is it plastic?
The cases, but it's glass because I broke
the components
the
inside of
screen
it's not
yesterday.
plastic? The components made out of it's not in plastic? Yeah, they are. The water that you filled that water bottle up with, where'd you fill that water bottle up out of?
A water filling station.
All right, and it was delivered by a drink station that was plastic?
I didn't check.
The edges are. The piping coming to it. Now, you have a couple of choices with the piping. We could go back to using wood, but then you have to line it in chemical. Or we could go back and use lead, because we used to have water piping that was lead. That was harmful to us. We go back to galvanized, but galvanized rust and had discoloration. We go back to copper, but copper has to be mined, and everybody wants to stop mining in the U.S. So you use plastic to deliver piping that you fill that water bottle up with today. I point this out because the clothes you have on, I guarantee you have plastic in it. The shoes you have on your feet, the soles of those shoes are plastic. So we talk about any plastic manufacturing, and everybody in here cheers when you say that, but everybody here is depending on plastic as you set. So if you want to end it, then quit using it.
It's all fun and games until someone uses your own logic against you.
But ma'am, don't assume my gender. Yeah, don't do that. Don't assume your gender. What are your pronouns then? They and Z and princess. Princess? Damn.
Watch as she tries to avoid answering this simple question, knowing full well that her entire argument would fall apart if she was in any way straight up with him.
Define what a woman is without reference to the word woman, please.
This is actually a logical fallacy called a red herring. You're asking me a question in order to actually challenge my question without actually answering
it really is not. There are objective measures as to whether you're a man or a woman. There are objective measures as to whether you're male or female. There's certainly a spectrum with regard to effeminateness versus masculinity. That's certainly true, but that does not change the underlying sexual dichotomy that is the basis for all human reproduction.
None of the medical associations that I just named off would actually support the idea that gender is biological. This is something that's completely untrue within every single medical consensus.
Well, then I will just say that anyone who suggests that gender has no reference whatsoever to biology, it's not connected in any way to biology, is just full of shit. Because and the reason anybody who suggests to you that there is such a thing, for example, as a pregnant male is not a doctor, they are an activist.
Yet another young idealist who can't seem to comprehend that the world is more complicated than she thinks.
I hope you don't mind. I looked up your net worth online. It's quite easy to find.
It's not actually true. It's easy to find, but it's not actually true.
In the hundreds of millions.
But that's not...
It costs around £20,000 to insulate a British home. So that's 8,000 British homes for your 150 net million, which is what it says online.
Which is untrue. But
do you really think that you're worth more than 8,000 cold, freezing families?
Have you seen the studies on insulation? That insulation...
Do you care about the people living in fuel poverty?
Very much so. When I was Secretary of State for Energy, I was responsible for developing the plan that has brought energy prices down for families. That was policy that I was intimately involved in designing, so of course I care about that.
So you do understand the report that you're asking me about says that the cost of insulating British homes is so expensive because of the government's failure to insulate British homes.
But what happens 3 years after people have insulated their homes? They use the same amount of energy as they did before. There's been a study on this, which I'm sure you've seen reports on. In the first year they save money, in the second year they save a small amount of money, in the third year they have actually made themselves warmer because the economics of it is they have a certain amount they can spend on energy.
What happens when the government fails to insulate British homes? 7.5 million British people live in fuel poverty. Parents are starving themselves so that they can feed their children, and people are freezing to death in their homes because they are forced to choose between heating and eating. People are dying. Are you hearing me?
Because it's simply not true. The government introduced a cap on energy prices and support for families who couldn't afford energy prices, that those were brought in last year, and they are very significant supports to ensure...
What do you mean it's not true? Have you spoken to an ordinary person who is suffering the cost of living crisis right now?
I don't believe there's any such thing as ordinary people. I believe everybody is in their individual way quite remarkable. I think ordinary people is the most condescending way of referring to our fellow British citizens.
This next woman might be the most ridiculous and stupid we've featured so far in this video.
So I haven't really heard a compelling reason, at least from the feminist viewpoint standpoint, as to why women shouldn't be drafted.
But why would you want women to be drafted is my question as a man.
For the sake of equality.
But wouldn't you want your country to do good in war, not just for the sake of equality.
What? So if I make that same argument about like the workforce, would you call that a sexist statement?
With what exactly?
Would it be a sexist statement? I'm not arguing this, but the same argument you're making about, well, wouldn't you want the best for the war effort? Couldn't you just make that argument about the volunteer force so women can't join the military? You could say about policemen, police officers, firefighters, etc.
I'm not really catching your drift.
You said
you don't want women,
the
so you're trying to
best
exclude
people?
women from other workforces is what you're asking me?
Well, you said, wouldn't you want the best people?
Yes, for the war, yeah. Because
Which is
the
who?
war, because like if we lose the war, is that not a big deal?
That'd be a big deal.
Yeah, so
That'd
that's
be
what I'm
pretty
saying.
bad.
It's kind of like, you know,
But you
let's put
could try-
equality to
so
the
you
side
could-
in terms of the war, because the war is really going to affect all of society, not just man or woman.
But you could even draft women into positions of, for example, not frontline soldiers.
Cybersecurity. Yeah, and if you can
And
prove that
most-
those women are competent and they can do that, then
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
That still wouldn't really be equality, but it would
It
be
wouldn't, but
closer.
that would be good,
It
yeah.
would be closer to equality.
Exactly.
Actually, most positions in the military are not frontline combat positions. So, I wouldn't, so I'm just a little confused here.
What are you confused about if we just agreed on the same point? Just because I label myself as a feminist and I have the same opinion within this as someone
But
who's
it
not a
seems
feminist?
like when you want equality
No,
only
because
when
I've
it
made that
suits
clear.
women.
I've made that clear that I don't want it when it just suits women. I want it when it benefits society.
Well, so then you
Is that
acknowledge
really hard to understand?
a little bit. So then you acknowledge that there's an inequality that's currently impacting men because men are the only sex that are required to register for the Selective Service.
Yeah, that's an inequality in terms of, yeah, if
Okay.
one sex has to go to war,
So your
one
solution
doesn't.
then is
Not
to get
equal.
rid of the draft?
My solution to that would just be let's not go to fucking war.
Well,
that would
that's-
make shit equal.
Yeah, war bad.
But obviously
War
that's
bad.
exactly, but since that's not a realistic thing that the U.S. will do, and that's why we're just
What if
continuing
it has nothing
with...
to do with the U.S.? What if there's a belligerent force like China or Russia or something?
Okay, well, either way...
Beaten
war's
Cheeks donated $300. Here is a point. Feminism should have never been brought upon society by evil men pushing women to become babyless career boss B words. In the West now, what are women currently oppressed on? I'll wait.
Beaton, I'll ask that later. Are you... Okay. So assuming we can't get rid of war, assuming there had to be a draft,
Exactly.
would you acknowledge the current inequality that exists?
Yes,
shouldn't
you've
as-
asked me that question
But
like
shouldn't
4
you
times, I
shouldn't
believe.
you
I
as a
said yeah.
feminist be desirous of moving towards egalitarianism and equality?
I've made that clear. No. Not in every single
Can I ask it a
aspect.
different way?
Yeah.
What would a victory for the feminist movement look like, or your view of feminism? Like what?
Oh, what's my view of feminism?
Yes, or like
Okay.
what is an injustice or something wrong in America that you would like to see remedied or cured with your view of feminism?
Okay, I can get real specific with it. I work in the healthcare field, and I see a lot of inequality within that. So that's one way where I'm a feminist, where I can see, okay, women aren't being treated the best way within the healthcare field,